But the next topic of this podcast is the whole thing between movie theaters and Universal. So, man, where do I begin? There is just a lot going on with this, just a lot. And I'm gonna try and keep it as like condensed as possible. I'm not trying to make this podcast a little bit too long, but yeah. So last Monday, Universal came out and said that they were simultaneously, from this point on, because of the quote unquote success of Trolls World Tour with the VOD release, that they were going to release movies in theaters and at the same time release them on VOD, which got AMC and Regal in an uproar. Now, I know a lot of people might be like, they over there shooting themselves in the foot, that theaters, they overreact and that they shouldn't act like this. But just think about it. You have an agreement with somebody where you both can make money, and they go somewhere else and they basically go on their own saying that, like, okay, we're going to do this so where theaters won't make money off of this. So you're going to get us mad. And then from then on, they say that, like, okay, we're still going to do a deal with you, but we're going to split our deal with somebody else as well. So it's like, okay, so that's going to affect our money and our agreement. Like, basically, the movie studios have an agreement with the movie theaters to keep a movie in theaters for a certain amount of time and then have a gap in between the time that it's in theaters and the time that it's on VOD. Sometimes that it changes depending on how good the movie does. If it doesn't do that good, it's going to have a short run in theaters. If it's doing really well, which we've seen with Black Panther, the last two Jumanji films, and probably some other films where they actually stayed in theaters even a week or even a month after it was released, even on DVD, which it releases on digital VOD, like I say maybe like some weeks before it comes out on actual DVD. And certain movies even stay in theaters until it comes out on DVD. So that's a long time, a long ass time. And so they have a deal to have all this in place. And if Universal is stepping out and saying we're going to do this to where we're going to like disrupt your money, it's like, of course they're going to be mad. They're going to be mad. And I don't blame the movie studios, because people would be like, oh, well, the movie theaters, they need the movie studios because that's literally what they work off of. Yeah, you're right. But just like the movie theaters business is based off of playing movies, movie theaters or movie studios need movie theaters to play their movies. So it's like one of those things where you can't have one without the other. And just quickly, just movie theaters aren't going anywhere, at least for right now. Movie theaters are going to be around because people are still going to want that movie theater experience. And that's where movies, even Universal Pictures, know that that's where they make their bread and butter. Do you think that Trolls World Tour would have just made over 100 million, would have just made its budget back? No, they wouldn't. They probably would have made more if in theaters, because like even with that hefty price tag of $20 for a rental and all that stuff, the theaters, like the movie studios, they're losing money on Trolls World Tour because they have to pay back not only who they got their loans from, which is basically the bank. They have to pay back marketing, which is not cheap, for this movie. And, they have to pay back a lot of other people, a lot of sources or whatever, before they can actually say that this movie was profitable. This movie was not profitable. However you want to look at it, this movie was not profitable. Like, the budget was 90 to 100 million. It only made over 100 million. So what do you think? They're operating at a loss. This was a success in certain senses. But the overall picture, Trolls World Tour was not a success as far as money, as a money maker. It wasn't one of them things that's going to have other studios looking at it as like, oh, this may be the future. No, it's not. Movie theaters are the one big way that movies like this or just even bigger make their money. And so it's like it's going to be well needed. So I think Universal needs to kind of like step back and see what they need to do. Because first of all, breaking an agreement that you had with movie theaters to drop Trolls World Tour on DVD or, on VOD was, and without telling them, was just undermined. Was just kind of like bad business. And then to double down on that and say that you're going to do it with a lot of other movies, with releasing, even when theaters open back up, releasing it simultaneously on VOD and movie theaters, like, nah. So yeah, with the movie studios coming out, they basically said that they won't show Universal Studios, Universal Pictures movies in their theaters as long as they're doing that. Not saying that they're banning them, period, but as long as they're going to be dropping them both on VOD or in theaters at the same time, we're not going to be showing your pictures. So you either just stick to our agreement, or you could just go straight to VOD. Because, like I said, just as much as the movie theaters need those movies, those movie studios need the theaters. And even if they don't play, Universal movies, those aren't the only game in town. We have Disney, which last year made the highest grossing movies of that whole entire year. Record breaking. So if they don't have Universal, whatever, cool. You have Disney, you have other movie studios, Paramount has, whatever, but you have other movie studios that can make money. Sony. You have other movie studios that basically can take its place and just, dominate. And where Universal may end up losing money, they gonna more than likely have to eventually come back to the movie theaters like, man, we need this. Because if you look at it, no other movie studio has done this yet. No other one. If this was a new wave and all this stuff, or if they were in the wrong, why haven't Disney done it yet? Why haven't WB done it yet? Because for one, they have an agreement with the studios, or have an agreement with the theaters. Then on top of that, they know that they're not going to make that much money. If they put Black Widow out, they're not going to make as much money as it was in theaters. If Universal, that's why they pushed F9 all the way to next year. If they were really bold, they would have put that out on VOD and see how it did. Guarantee you it would have did well. Don't get me wrong, it would have did well, especially now. But $1 billion movie it possibly could have been? I don't think so. I really don't think so it could have been. But, WB is doing the same thing that Universal did, but it ran it past the movie theaters with Scoob and saying that, like, yeah, we're going to drop, Scoob out because this is whatever. We're going to bypass the theaters. And they got the okay from the movie theaters saying that, like, yeah, it's cool, whatever. But, it's kind of reckless that Universal is trying to stir up all this. And I'm totally back in the movie theaters in this aspect. But yeah, because like when you look at it, Trolls World Tour, like I said, it made back over 100 million with a budget of 90 to 100 million. But they made a statement. The CEO of Universal made a statement saying that it made more than the first Trolls movie within the first 3 weeks, which is a lie. The first Trolls movie box office worldwide was 346 million, and domestically was 153.7 million. Now, if it made 153.7 million, then cool. It made more or as much as the domestic thing. But as far as the worldwide, no, it did not do better than the first Trolls movie. So throw that out the window. So like I said, Trolls is working at a loss, and Universal doesn't need to jump the gun with this, because these are special circumstances surrounding this whole thing, and it may be a totally different story once theaters open back up and people have the choice. I guarantee you, as much as people will want to watch movies at home and stuff and not have to leave and all that, there's a lot of people that still want to get out and go have a night out, a date night. With me, I want to see a movie in theaters, because a lot of movies, that's what they're meant for, the big screen. Not the small screen, but the big screen. So, but enough said on that. I'm done. I'm done. I spent enough time on that. So let's move over to the next topic.